Hey everyone! If you're a fan of the show, please head over to mikeyop.com and click the subscribe button. It's the best way to support us, and it's free. That's MIKEYOPP.com. Thanks!
Hi, I'm Mike Oppenheim, and you are listening to Coffin Talk, Exit Interviews with the Living, a weekly podcast that explores how our views on death affect the way we live our life. With me this week, all the way from India, is Mr. Shekhar, and I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. I tried a few times. Chaware?
Yeah, or you can simply call me Shekhar Jain. That's another nickname that I go by.
Okay. Well, whatever name you do go by, you are a long friend of my brother who used to travel to India often. And I know you've changed his life and your friendship has changed his life. And so I want to thank him and thank you for agreeing to come on the podcast. And I know a little bit about you, but I want our listeners to learn about you. So the first question I have for you is that you practice a religion that's not that well known in America called Jainism. And I was wondering if you could explain to our audience what Jainism is and how you practice it.
Yeah, okay. The first thing first, I must thank you from the bottom of my heart for having me on your podcast. And I really feel privileged to be on your show, okay? So as you asked me a very simple question, what Jainism is, well, I need to tell you that Jainism is a little known religion outside India because even in India we are a minority. You know, we are around like 100,000 people here in India, so it's a minority religion. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Jainism is a contemporary of Gautam Buddha, Mahavir, the last Tirthankara of the Jainism. Mahavir and the Lord Buddha, the Gautama, both were the contemporaries. But the problem is that Buddhism traveled all across the world, but Jainism couldn't go outside India. It's a kind of an extreme kind of religion, you know, austerities and fasting and very traditional beliefs and the most important thing is that Jains follow a very strict kind of non-violence in India. You know, we don't eat any kind of meat products, not even eggs or some vegetables that grow underground. So Jainism is not known to many people, but fortunately, a lot of community Indian diaspora travel to America. And now you have some Jains living over there in US as well.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And I didn't know it was that small in India. So how did you become a Jainist? Was it a family tradition?
Yeah, I've been born in Jainism. You know, my parents, my parents' parents, and the forefathers were all Jains. It's a very tight-bound community. You marry into the same caste, so by birth you become a Jain. You know, you don't have to adopt it. You just simply being born into Jain family, you are a Jain.
Got it. And so growing up, was it easy to be Jain, and was it easy for you to accept being Jain, or did you ever have doubts or like struggles or any issues?
Yeah, well, having been born into a Jain family, accepting Jainism was not a big problem because right from very early age, we have been taught to follow some traditions. You know, like early in the morning, you have to go to temple without having the darshan, that is, without seeing the statue of God and kind of some things over there. You can't just simply have food, or you cannot eat. That kind of things you have to follow. But after after I had grown up, I started having some doubts about some things that are said in my religion. That's like, to give you one example, that our Jain religion believes that you cannot reach the moon. You know, it's kind of a word of God, and it's kind of a God over there, so you can't reach over there. That kind of thing. I started arguing with people here in my community, that how is it possible that the science says that we have reached moon, we have stepped onto the moon, and as well, and you say that you can't reach moon. How is it possible? So these kind of things are sometimes I don't believe, but overall, I believe and I love being Jain.
Okay, I think I understand. So you're saying that there are things in the Jain book, the philosophy that contradict what we call reality, but that doesn't mean that the lifestyle and the habits of it. Like, for example, I'm assuming, is it true that you've never tried meat before? You've never had fish, eggs?
Uh, Absolutely not. Even I travel abroad, I couldn't just simply stand having food in a veg and non-veg kind of restaurants where seafood and other things are kind of served is there. But sometimes I need to, if you have time, I can tell you one incident, particularly that is each on my mind. Okay, I have been to London, and there in a seaside. We were at a seaside resort, and my friend and I, and his girlfriend, visited to a famous seafood restaurant, and they ordered some kind of seafood, a platter of seafood. I mean, and they asked me to have something, but I said I couldn't eat anything because it's just simply seafood and it's meat all over there. So they were a little bit troubled because I was not having any kind of food. I was starving, but I couldn't eat because it was all seafood. So my friend just simply had the head chef come over here to my table and asked me, "What can you have?" I said, "Well, I'm a pure vegetarian." So he said, "Will you eat eggs?" I said, "No." He said, "Would you like to have some fish or some kind of?" I said, "Absolutely not." That kind of thing. And then he finally settled on having me some rice and sauté vegetables, that kind of a thing. And even to cook that sauté vegetables and rice, I insisted on using very clean pot so that I don't want any traces of meat residues. I mean to say that the sticky thing that comes along with the pot. Sometimes after overcooking for a long time, I asked the chef to clean it all pretty clean and then cook the food in that kind of a thing, pretty thing happened over there. It was funny. I was a little bit ashamed as well because I was putting the chef to a lot of trouble, but he finally made it to my taste.
Mm-hmm. I understand, and that's really interesting. So before I ask the normal question I ask on this podcast about life and death, I'd like one more question about this incident and your philosophy. What would happen to you if you did eat that fish that day? Like, is there a God that punishes you? Like, what's the philosophy?
Yeah. Okay. Let me put this straight. The first thing is that as we have not been using any kind of meat, and we even can't stand as somebody having meat. So the first question, the first reaction would be it will be very repulsive for me to have some kind of fish or some kind of meat served on my plate. I won't eat. I would prefer say that go starving for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 something days like that. But I haven't been in that situation, so I can't really tell you whether I will eat or not. But mostly, if you ask me now, being in a comfortable position, that I would rather go. I would prefer dying, but probably would not like to eat that meat or any kind of meat product. And coming to your question, that if I eat, what will happen? Okay. It will be a bad thing for me. I will be accruing very bad karmas because to fill my stomach is just to fill my belly. You have to kill somebody, some living organism, and we Jains can't just tolerate that. So I think that I would accrue very bad karmas. I will be punished for that in my next life or something, and I won't like it because God, as such, we don't believe in that there is some entity sitting on a throne up in the clouds like that, and then delivering punishment and judgment kind of things to you. It's all your karmas. Jains believe in your karmas. You do and you reap, as the saying goes in Bible. As you sow, so shall you reap, that kind of thing.
That's a great answer. And so I have one last little question because I was a vegetarian for many years. And I once was talking to someone, and it's a coincidence, but they were also from India. And he looked at me and said, "You don't believe in killing, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't believe in killing." And he said, "Well, the water you drink, they boil it and kill bacteria. How does that make you feel?" And so I'm curious, how would you answer that same question?
Yeah, okay. It's a kind of a tedious answer, a little bit of philosophy involved in that, and I'm sure that you will put up with me for that. Okay. According to Jain, according to Jain religion, there are hierarchies, of living things. Some things are only with one sense, some things are only two senses, and we human beings are endowed with five senses. So killing an entity, having five senses, that's kind of a greater crime you make against that. Okay, but if you kill vegetables, kind of thing, just like if you pluck spinach for your curry or sort of thing, you are definitely killing that life form, right? But the typical answer is that it is just for your survival. So that kind of things, definitely, you won't go unpunished. You will be punished for killing that kind of life form, but it will be very mild sort of thing that you will be committing against somebody else. A crime, sort of crime, against a very mild crime.
Okay, I totally understand, and I actually really like that. So I guess then I want to ask you the main question that we ask on this podcast, which is, according to Jainism, and of course, more important to me, according to you, Shekhar, what happens when you die? What do you think happens when you die?
The strongest belief in Jainism is that this body is kind of a thing you share out, you just leave behind and you move ahead. All that is, they call it soul, Atma, as they put it in Hindi, or if you like to call it's a Hindi word for that. The soul, the consciousness is another word for that. So all there is this, that it is consciousness, as in everything that surrounds you is full of consciousness, and even a non-living thing is also full of consciousness sort of things, because it is some kind of atoms. They are just spinning in that, so that kind of a life form, some sort of thing. Very gross kind of thing though, but it is consciousness. So when you die, you leave your body, and your consciousness is relieved, and according to your karmas, you go into the higher form of life, or you go into the downward kind of life. Like sometimes you are born as according to your karma, as they say that. But God doesn't punish you, because there is no God as such in Jainism. You get punished for your things, but by being born into some other kind of life forms. I hope you got the answer.
Yeah, no, this is actually going really well. You're like an encyclopedia of Jainism.
No. Thank you for that. But I have very little knowledge of Jainism, because, I'm not a kind of a churchy person. They're going too much into temples and studying this and studying that and following this authority and that kind of thing. But I believe in that, these kind of things. You just got to, you have absolutely no right to kill someone just for your own survival. That's my kind of philosophy.
Well, and actually, speaking of survival, that's kind of what I'm curious about with Jainism. Is it a what here in America we would call a pacifism religion, meaning like if your neighbor starts to take your land, according to Jainism, are you allowed to fight back, or are you supposed to let them take the land? Like, what's the line of action and no action?
Yeah, okay. I have two different views according to, as you asked me that. The first thing is that if somebody takes out from you, like for your money, your car, somebody breaks in your flat and takes away all the things you have, that kind of thing. If it happens to you, our religion teaches us that you will have to accept that. It was your karma. It was to happen. in the last life, or maybe some other unknown lives, because you live so many times, you die so many times. Maybe in some other life, you might have done the same thing to the person who did it to you this time. So you are paying back. So to get out of that karma, so not to accrue any bad karmas in this life, you will have to let go. You will have to accept that it was my destiny. It was to happen. It was not my thing. It was not my property, that kind of thing. So you just simply accept, as Osho says, that accept whatever that happened to you. Okay? So you just don't worry too much. You don't panic. You don't cry. You don't lament about it. You just simply accept and let it go. Another thing is that being a 21st century man and being a normal human being, I mean to say that if somebody takes my say a gold ring, or maybe tries to snatch a mobile from my hand, I would pretty much fight back. Will feel like hitting him in the face or kicking him in the wherever, and if it is still gone from my hand, I would just be a little bit worried about. I will just a little bit very sad and think that this shouldn't have happened with me, that kind of thing. But finally, somewhere, the religion at the back of my mind will soothe my mind and tell me that accept it. It was to happen. It happened, and so let it go. That kind of a thing. But being a normal human being, considering that I too have the emotions as well, an attachment to the things, because I'm not a yogi. I'm not a sadhu. So I will feel a little bit bad about that. This shouldn't have happened with me. But finally, I would accept it, because this is what the essence of life is. Because nothing is yours. Whatever you are endured with in this life, it comes to you, but it is not yours. If you have this kind of philosophy, you will just simply accept and will not lament about anything.
Wow, that's beautiful. So I'm really interested in what you're saying. And so I want to know next, you gave me a great example from London with the food, but now with a more serious topic, such as, someone stealing your gold ring, like you mentioned, or let's talk more directly, like you have family, you have a wife and children and parents, of course. What is the biggest test you've had in your life with Jainism? What was like the time where it was the hardest to swallow, as we say here, like the idea, like let this go, and how did that go for you?
Speaking about material possession, I think that it is for you. You are not meant for that. So if it is with you, so it's good to have that kind of thing. But if it goes away from you, if somebody takes it away, you better accept it, because crying over the spilled milk, as they say, it is of no use, So let religion be in one corner, but just simply be a very rational and logical kind of person. If you spill milk, you're not going to get it back. So it's absolutely no use crying over that kind of a thing. This is how I say religion is kind of a different thing. But being a rational and logical man, I would say that let it be. It's not yours. It's gone. Just forget it. That kind of thing.
And so what about in your life, though? Have you ever been tested? I'll give a personal example. I went through a divorce, and I had a lot of fallout from that. And there were times where I felt like things were truly unfair. And even if I applied karma and believed that I deserved it, which, believe me, I have applied that and I have tried that, it was still like very hard. And so I'm just curious if you have a moment in your life where you were tested and you passed that test, or maybe you failed it. But if you're willing to share, I would love to know like a real time in your life where this philosophy worked, but it was hard.
Yeah, I've gone through one kind of experience. It's kind of a very personal thing, but I would like to share with you, because sometimes I've shared these kind of things with Sam, but anyway, I will share it. Wash the laundry in the public, anyway.
Well, thank you very much, because people do learn from hearing this, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. It so happened that I got married back in 1992, and after 1 year we conceived, and the child was 7 or 8 months months already in the stomach, in her belly, and we had this sonography done, and the doctor said that the child has some malignant brain tumor kind of thing growing in her growing, so you will have to have it removed. It was a very emotional shock for me and for my wife as well. And from the religious perspective, it was kind of killing some five sense of human being, like that. It was fully grown, 7 months old, and like that kind of thing. So we didn't want to go ahead with that. But finally, for the betterment of the child and for my wife, we had to kill it. We had to have the abortion and taken it out. But after that, I was very upset that this thing happened with me. And another incident, that my mother died back in 2000, and she was taken away from me. And I was very, 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 very attached to my wife, and I couldn't just simply take it stoically, as I say that somebody comes and somebody has to go. You can't live on the planet forever. But for like 3 or 4 months, I couldn't come to terms with that thing. Finally, slowly time heals, as I say that. But it was I think it shouldn't have happened. My mother should have been with me, that kind of.
Yeah, I really understand. Thank you, first of all, for sharing those stories, because that's not easy and it's not required. And I feel, my heart feels a lot when you said that. And I think that's the answers I'm looking for as I do this podcast, is I'm trying to help myself and my listeners connect life and death and the whole process, as we have children and we lose our parents, as we become parents and watch our children worry about losing us, the cycle. So it's been really helpful to hear you talk about that. So I'm curious, since we don't often have people from outside of the United States, what advice as a Jainist and as a human would you have for our country right now as you watch from the outside? Do you think that we could be better off if we were Jainist? Do you think we're doing just fine? Do you think karma is just doing its thing? How do you feel about the world?
Well, I'm not a great leader to send a message to the world and to the people like that. But the only thing I would like to tell you that whatever you do in this life, be a better person, love everyone. And if you believe in karma or if you don't believe in karma, but doing good gives this kind of a satisfaction. And on the other hand, if you kill someone, you really feel bad. Somebody at the back of your mind, you feel that I did a very wrong thing to that. But emotions and your attachment, or maybe some other evil kind of a mindset takes it over, and you just put it behind. But your mind, definitely, your inner soul tells you that this is not right, you shouldn't do it. If your heart tells you that this is wrong and you shouldn't do it, I think that you shouldn't do it. You mustn't do it. Do that kind of thing. Love everyone. That's the thing. That's the thing, because love is the only eternal thing you are going to take away from this life to the next life. I mean to say that.
Well, that was the most beautiful, best answer I could ask for, and we are running out of time. So, Shekhar, I want to thank you so much for helping us put another nail in the coffin. You've been an extraordinary guest today, and I'm so thankful for your wisdom, for your friendship, and most of all, for your heart. I'm sure it will come through to our listeners as well, but you are clearly a loving and peaceful person, and I want our world to have more people with you and your attitude, and I would like to be more like you with your attitude. So is there anything you'd like to say before we go?
I would like to say that look around what people are going through. There's a lot of trouble going on, but if you learn to accept and let go, you will be a better person. You will be definitely a better person if you let go the things. You don't keep you don't keep holding on to things, because they are not meant for you. They are meant for you for some time, and they are going to go away. So it would be better if you let go and just accept everything. What is going to happen with you, just going to happen with you, whether you like it or whether you don't like it. That's the kind of thing I would like to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. That was truly beautiful and truly precious. Well, everyone, there you have it. This is another episode of Coffin Talk Exit Interviews with the Living. Once again, a big thank you to Shekhar and also to my brother for booking him and for our first guest from India. And to the rest of you, we will see you soon.
Walking alone when I hear this song, and I'm walking alone. Walking alone when I walk into you, and I see that you see me, and I see you hear this tune, and I feel that you're near me, and I sing you while the